Have you ever been treated by your own family as if you were a burden? Excluded from an important event just because they think you're too sensitive, too dramatic, or not polished enough to be seen with them? I've been through that. And the story you're about to hear begins the moment my mother stood in the kitchen, looked straight into my face, and told me I was not allowed to attend my cousin's wedding. Because you're too dramatic for an elegant ceremony. I thought I would fall apart. But unexpectedly, that very act of exclusion became the beginning of a journey that changed my entire life. If you've ever been misunderstood, belittled, or unfairly treated by your own family, leave a comment. I've been there. You're not alone, and this story is for you. Have you ever been treated by your own family as if you were an object? There or not, it didn't matter? I have. And the most painful part was that the blow didn't come from an enemy, didn't come from a stranger. It came from my own mother. That morning was quiet, the kind of quiet I later realized was the calm before a storm. I was sitting in the kitchen, holding a steaming cup of coffee, trying to steal a few peaceful minutes before diving into another stressful day as a social media manager. Then my mother walked in. Her face was tight, like she wasn't there to see her daughter, but to deliver a verdict. She stood in the middle of my kitchen, arms crossed, examining me like a defective product, and said in the same contempt-laden voice I'd grown up with, "Emily, I don't think you should go to Grace's wedding. You're too dramatic for such an elegant event." I froze. For a split second, it felt like being stabbed in the chest. No pain at first, just emptiness. I set my coffee cup down. Even the tiny click it made on the table brought me back to myself. I asked, my voice low and strangely calm, even to me. "You mean everyone is going, except me?" My mother nodded, lightly, too lightly, as if she were confirming a wrong purchase, not excluding her daughter from a major family event. Then she added with a polite smile that felt like a mask, "Grace wants a drama-free wedding. And you, well, you know yourself. Sensitive, reactive, always making a big deal out of things. Sensitive? Making big deals. Is that what they call standing up for people?" I remembered last Christmas, when I spoke up because my uncle made a racist comment at dinner. Or the time our relatives whispered about cousin Maya's failed marriage, and I said outright that they should worry about her, not judge her. But in this family, honesty equals troublemaking. I took a deep breath. If I snapped back, she'd accuse me of, losing control again. If I cried, they'd say I was too emotional for a classy event. So I chose the hardest thing: silence and composure. "When is the wedding?" "Next weekend. 3 days." She said it with sparkling eyes, like she was describing a dream vacation. During those 3 days, my entire family would dress beautifully, smile brightly, toast with champagne in Napa Valley. Without me. She went on and on about the photo locations, the magazine-worthy decor, the 5-star hotel they'd booked, and every sentence cut like a blade. Everything had been planned, with no space for me. When she finished, the only thing I could do, without letting my voice crack, was smile. "I hope you all have a wonderful time." My mother tilted her head, wearing an odd expression, almost disappointed that I didn't explode. No tears, no begging, no anger. Maybe she had prepared her excuses for an emotional outburst I refused to give her. "I need to head to the airport, help Grace get ready," she said before turning away. The door closed. and the room hollowed out. I stood still for a long time. Then I sank onto the sofa, and a wave of emotion I'd suppressed for years rose like a tide. They had erased me from the family, and to them, it was natural. The people I always tried to protect, to please, to shrink myself for so I wouldn't be too much. They planned everything: flights, outfits, gifts, and through all of it, not one person thought about me. I realized the most painful part wasn't being removed from the guest list. It was that they didn't even see it as wrong. But as the pain tightened around my chest, something else flickered inside me. First a spark, then a flame. They thought I was dramatic. They thought I would ruin their perfect picture. But they forgot. I'm the one who knows how to tell the stories people want to hear. I opened Grace's Instagram. Perfectly lit engagement photos, pastel filters, captions like fairy tale love. Everything so perfect. It felt soulless. I thought, oh, they want a perfect story to show the world? Fine. Let's see what the world prefers, perfection or truth. And right then, my phone buzzed. A message from Lily, the friend who is the family I chose. Wine tonight? I have huge news. I looked at the screen and laughed. My first real laugh that dark morning. My family thought they had pushed me out of an important day. But they didn't know that push would send me somewhere they could never imagine. Somewhere a story, mine and a stranger couple's, would shake social media. Somewhere the girl labeled too dramatic would rewrite her entire life. And it all began the moment my family excluded me. That evening, after my mother left my apartment as if she'd just completed some difficult duty, I sat lifeless on the sofa. I felt hollow. Hollow from rejection, from being dismissed, from a pain no one in that family would ever understand. But there was one person I could talk to. Just one. Lily. Luckily, as if the universe sensed I was crumbling, she messaged, "Wine tonight? I have big news." I replied with a single word, "Come." The little bar in the Pearl District opened its doors like an embrace. Warm wood, yellow light, glasses clinking, everything inside whispered, "Emily, you're safe here." Lily jumped up the moment she saw me, eyes shining like headlights. "Hey, I just landed a massive job." I tried to smile, but it must have twisted oddly because she froze. "What happened, Emily? You look like life just slapped you." I breathed in, and the story poured out like a dam breaking. I told her everything. What my mother said, how she looked at me, how my family had quietly removed me from what they called the most important event of the year. Lily's eyes widened so much I thought they might fall out. "Hold up. They said you're too dramatic to attend? Are they insane?" I let out a bitter laugh. In their eyes, standing against racism or calling out gossip is dramatic, I guess. Lily slammed her glass down. "Emily, they don't deserve you. But listen, I have something wild." She leaned in like she was about to drop a state secret. "You know that job I mentioned earlier?" Lily said. "I just got hired to shoot a last-minute wedding. Gorgeous venue. The couple wants everything emotional, authentic, viral. Budget's amazing. Like, I'm happy for a month amazing." I raised an eyebrow. "And?" Lily grabbed my hand. "Come with me. Be my assistant. Handle social media." I was stunned into silence. "Me? Doing what? I don't shoot weddings." "You don't need to," she said quickly. You can see stories. You know what makes people stop scrolling, what moves them. This couple wants genuine moments, not staged 20-minute poses. I need someone like you. I laughed. And when is this wedding? Lily bit her lip, then dropped the bomb slowly. Next Saturday. The same day as Grace's wedding. Except for one difference. This wedding, I was invited to. Where? I asked. Multnomah Falls. My breath caught. Multnomah Falls, this towering waterfall where the ground seems coated in silver mist, where sunlight cuts through the cascades and creates soft, impossible rainbows. It's so beautiful that just standing there makes you feel like you've stepped into a simple, intimate kind of fairy tale. A real wedding. A wedding beautiful because of love, not because of a budget. A wedding without people sitting around judging who belongs and who doesn't. I'm serious, Lily said. You won't just be helping me. You'll be doing what you do best, telling the stories of people who deserve to be told. I looked at the glass of wine in my hand. Its golden reflection danced on the wooden table as if inviting me toward a new path. My family had pushed me out of their story. So what? I could step into another one that didn't require anyone's permission for me to exist. I asked Lily, what does the couple want from social media? The most honest moments, she said instantly. They want to share their love in a way that inspires people. No posing, no perfection, no showing off. They want to prove a wedding doesn't need to cost a fortune or satisfy judgmental relatives to be meaningful. Silence stretched between us for a few seconds. I felt it. That moment everyone eventually experiences, when you know deep in your bones that the decision you're about to make will change everything. I set my glass down and looked Lily straight in the eyes. Okay, I'm in. Lily screamed so loudly the bartender flinched. Emily! I knew it! Oh my God! We're going to slay this wedding! I laughed. A real laugh. Not forced, not aching. For the first time in a long time, my heart felt light. When I returned home, I lay on my bed and stared at the ceiling. The pain of being excluded by my family was still there. That wound wasn't healed. It would probably bleed for a long time. But beside that pain, something else had appeared. Something new, strange, and far stronger. I didn't feel powerless anymore. I had a choice. And I chose to walk into a story where I didn't have to earn the right to exist. Next weekend, while my family took perfectly curated photos for social media, I would be standing beneath Multnomah Falls, creating content that I believed would truly touch people's hearts. A wedding where I wouldn't be judged, wouldn't be categorized, wouldn't be labeled too dramatic. A place where authenticity was valued. I didn't know then that this choice would shake social media, that it would send my family spiraling, confused, frantic, then forced to face the truth they always avoided. That it would change my career and change me. But that night, when I closed my eyes, I knew only one thing. For the first time in my life, I felt free. Ever since I agreed to attend the replacement wedding with Lily, the air around me felt different. No more tightness in my chest every time I thought about Grace's wedding. Instead, there was a strange energy building inside me. Something that felt like hope, mixed with defiance. All my life, my family stuck labels on me. Dramatic, over the top, too sensitive. But for the first time, I was about to step into a space where sincerity, the very thing my family ridiculed, was my advantage. The morning after meeting Lily, I opened my laptop and began researching Multnomah Falls, the venue for the wedding. I looked at hundreds of photos, videos, and reviews about the light, the angles, the misty effects. Everything overwhelmed me and thrilled me. I wasn't a photographer, but I knew exactly what a story was, what moments made people stop, feel, breathe. And this was my playground. I asked myself, how do you tell a love story that feels real? How do you make someone not just like a post, but feel it? I wrote down the moments I wanted to capture. The look in Ava's eyes when she sees Noah before anyone else does. Noah's trembling hand fixing his tie. The bridesmaids' laughter breaking and reforming like waves. The mist from the falls brushing against the wedding dress. Sunlight filtering through the trees at the exact moment they exchange vows. Not staged moments, real ones. I scribbled my notes like a dreamer and a strategist at the same time. Not to compete with Grace. Not to get revenge on my family, but to prove that real stories always beat curated ones. I studied trending wedding hashtags. Authentic love. Real wedding moments. Love without luxury. I analyzed viral videos. What made people comment? What made them share? And I realized something important. People aren't moved by perfection. They're moved by seeing something true, something that reflects a part of themselves. I started drafting the narrative for Ava and Noah. No princess bride, no luxury ballroom. Just this. Two people who love each other enough to choose honesty. I'd worked in social media for years, but I'd never felt so excited about a project. While I was deep in work, Instagram lit up. Grace had posted a wedding dress fitting photo. Bright lighting, white flowers, a mermaid gown worth tens of thousands. I stared for 3 seconds, then closed it. No pain, no tightness. I simply thought, it's a pretty picture, but will anyone remember it? Or will they scroll past it like an ad? Because the wedding I was about to tell a story for would have a soul. About 3 days before the wedding, Lily called. Emily, I just met Ava and Noah. I told them about your social media skills and they were thrilled. Ava even said, we want Emily to capture the moments no one else sees. My heart pounded. Someone, finally, believed in me without hesitation, without suspicion, without judgment. Emily, Lily continued, you're not just an assistant. You're the storyteller of that day. I went silent for a moment, feeling something shift inside me. A different version of myself, stronger, braver, was waking up. The night before meeting Lily to go over gear, I sat on the floor packing my things. Laptop, notebook, power bank, a small tripod, lavalier mic, and a whole set of phone lenses. I was zipping up my bag when my phone buzzed. A message from Aunt Helen, Grace's mom. Emily, I heard you're not coming to the wedding. I want you to understand that Grace just wants everything to go smoothly that day. You're sensitive. Don't be upset. Sensitive. That word again. I stared at the message, then quietly locked my screen. I didn't reply. What surprised me was that I didn't cry. My heart didn't clench the way it had when my mother said those words. I simply thought, they don't understand me, and they're not even trying to. But at Multnomah Falls, there will be people who want me there. People who want me to be myself. I had the feeling I was about to step into something much bigger than this pain. When I met Lily at the studio, she opened the door with a huge grin. Emily, look at this. She handed me a printed timeline of the wedding day, detailed down to the minute. I even made a whole column just for you. Emily, emotional storytelling, and candid capture. I laughed. Fancy. Not as fancy as Grace's wedding, Lily winked, but so much more real. And in that exact moment, I realized I didn't care about Grace anymore. No more comparing, no more hurting. Multnomah Falls was calling me, and I was ready. The night before we left, I sat by the window, watching Portland glow softly in the dark. The night breeze slipped into my room, carrying the damp scent of recent rain. I didn't know what was waiting for me at that waterfall, but I knew one thing for certain. I was no longer the girl my family had rejected. I was the woman about to create a story the whole world would see. And they, the ones who called me too dramatic, had no idea that this very drama would change social media. And change them too. The day of the wedding, the day of the ceremony beneath Multnomah Falls, I woke up with a feeling I hadn't felt in months. A strange calm, wrapped around a breathless kind of excitement. While my entire family was probably slipping into their best outfits, ready to pose for their perfect photos in Napa Valley. I stood in front of the mirror, tied my hair back, slung my small camera backpack over my shoulder, and thought, I'm about to do something important. Something real. As Lily drove us to the falls, I couldn't take my eyes off the window. Tall trees lined the road, a thin layer of mist hovered over the asphalt, and the first rays of sunlight carved golden streaks through the forest. But none of that compared to the moment I first saw Multnomah Falls appear through the haze. Water thundered down the cliff, crashing into white foam, each droplet catching the light as if it were dancing. The roar of the falls was powerful, yet somehow peaceful. I froze, and I whispered to myself, if love had a sound, it would probably sound like this. Lily patted my shoulder. Welcome to the most beautiful wedding you've ever seen, Emily. When we stepped into the dressing room, I met the bride, Ava. She wasn't the type of bride dripping in diamonds and couture, in a dress worth tens of thousands. Ava was sitting in front of the mirror, eyes shining, not frantically fixing her hair, not panicking over smudged makeup. She was just smiling, a smile that lit up the entire room. You must be Emily, right? Ava said, her voice soft and warm. Lily's told us so much about you. Thank you for being here. And thank you for telling our story. Her words hit me straight in the heart. My family had never thanked me for telling their stories. They only told me to be quiet and stop causing trouble. But Ava understood. I quietly hit record, capturing the moment she ran her fingers over her veil, her hands trembling. Not because she was afraid of messing up photos, but because she was so excited. Not staged, not choreographed, just real. And the beauty of something real is stronger than any layer of Photoshop. Lily led me to the next room, where Noah was fixing his tie in front of a mirror with his two best friends. He was smiling, but his hands were shaking like he was trying to hide a tiny earthquake. Noah wasn't trying to look cool or manly and composed. He was just a man about to marry the love of his life. While Lily snapped photos, I filmed a short clip of Noah practicing his vows on his phone, stopping every so often because the emotion was too much. Oh man, Emily, he said when he noticed I was recording. Don't film me shaking like that. I smiled. Shaky moments are the most authentic ones. Trust me, people will love this. He blushed but laughed. And I knew I had just captured a moment that would make thousands of people out there cry. When the ceremony started, I walked ahead with Lily to set up our angles. The waterfall crashed behind us, mist floating like thin silk, and sunlight split through the spray to form a faint rainbow. I thought, Napa Valley can buy expensive wine, but it can't buy this view. Ava appeared. Her white dress lifted gently in the wind. Noah saw her and, in just 1 second, he broke into tears. Not the staged kind of emotional groom tears people praise on social media, but the kind you cry when you simply can't help it. Tears because she was beautiful. Because the moment was sacred. Because this was real love. I heard Lily's camera shutter like rapid fire. And me? My hands trembled as I hit record. Not because I was afraid of messing up, but because the moment was too beautiful. So beautiful that I felt lucky just to witness it. Ava took Noah's hand. They looked at each other as if the waterfall, the guests, every sound around them had dissolved into nothing. Their vows were not long, not poetic, not staged. I choose you every day, not for what you have, but for what you bring into my life. I'm here not to be the perfect bride, but to be your partner for the rest of our lives. No live band, no fireworks, no influencer guest list. Just 2 people and real love. When they kissed, applause erupted under the roar of the falls. People hugged, laughed, cried, congratulated them. I filmed Ava hugging her mother, sobbing like a child. Noah jumping into the air with his best friend. Their dog running straight into the middle of everything, making the entire group burst out laughing. No one posed for the camera. No one tried to look elegant. I felt something clearly. Today, no one tried to look beautiful. They just tried to be happy. And that made everything breathtakingly beautiful. As I was reviewing the footage, an older guest approached me. "Young lady," he said, "you're capturing moments even the photographer doesn't see. You have the eye of a storyteller." The eye of a storyteller. I had waited my whole life to hear something like that. Not, "You're too dramatic. You're always causing trouble. You embarrass the family." But you capture the stories people want to keep. I thanked him with a smile, but as I turned away, I almost cried. Not because I was sad, but because I realized I was still whole. I still had value, even if my family couldn't see it. I didn't know that just a few hours later, the videos on my phone would explode across social media. I didn't know that this small wedding would overshadow Grace's loud, luxurious Napa Valley one. I didn't know that the story I told that day would spark a movement about authentic weddings. But standing beneath the waterfall, watching Ava and Noah embrace, I knew one thing with absolute certainty. Real love changes everything. And this story was only just beginning. I thought I was prepared. I thought I understood how social media worked. I worked in the industry. I knew how fast an emotional clip could spread. But what happened with Ava and Noah's wedding? I had never seen anything like it, never imagined it, never believed I would be the one behind it. The morning after the wedding, I woke up to the constant vibrating of my phone. At first, I thought someone was calling over and over, but the buzzing didn't stop. Just wave after wave, like a drum in battle. I unlocked my screen. Instagram, 99 plus notifications. TikTok, 200 plus comments. email, brand inquiries, DMs, requests to repost the videos. It took me a few seconds to understand what was happening. Last night, before bed, I had posted just a few small clips, nothing heavily edited, no fancy effects. Just the moment Noah cried when he saw Ava. The moment Ava's hands trembled as she held her mother's. The slow-motion shot of their vows with the faint rainbow behind them, I posted them because they were beautiful. That's all. But social media didn't see them as just beautiful clips. They saw it as a reminder. One person commented, "I'm crying. Finally a real wedding, not the show-off kind." Another wrote, "This is why I believe in love." And just like that, comment after comment, share after share. And within 12 hours, the video hit 50,000 views, then 80,000, then 120,000. Every time I refreshed, the numbers jumped, hundreds, thousands at a time. My jaw dropped. I had worked in social media for 7 years, but never had a clip I created myself reach numbers like that. What shocked me the most wasn't the views. It was the mood of the audience. They weren't just watching. They were telling their own stories. My wedding 5 years ago cost 10 times this, but nobody remembers it. My family forced me into a big fancy ceremony. This clip is making me cry. I wish I had been brave enough to choose something small like this. Authentic love, luxury, anything. Under every post, people were tagging their partners, their friends, even wedding planners. Some girls tagged their boyfriends and wrote, "Babe, let's get married like this. Not fancy. Just real." That was it. No castle, no $10,000 gown. Just love. And the whole world suddenly remembered that. My phone vibrated. Ava was calling. She answered already smiling, then burst into tears. "Emily, your video! Oh my God, have you seen it? People are talking about our love in ways we never imagined." I said, "I've seen it. I still can't believe it." Noah jumped in, voice thick with emotion. "We didn't think a few honest moments could touch so many people. Emily, you did something really special." I stood in my tiny living room, holding my phone, and felt something bloom inside me. My family once called me dramatic, but that same drama, that sensitivity to human emotions, was now moving tens of thousands of people. When I checked the insights again, I almost dropped my phone. It wasn't just regular viewers sharing it. Wedding planners shared it. Influencers shared it. Lifestyle inspiration pages shared it. A few big accounts commented, "Wedding of the year, right here. This is the new wedding trend. Intimate, emotional, real. Forget Napa Valley. This is love." And then, something I never expected happened. A major wedding page with 3 million followers reposted my video and tagged, "If you're planning a wedding, watch this first." I stared at the screen, mouth wide open. Lily texted me in 0.5 seconds. "Oh my God, Emily! My brain is exploding!" I covered my face and started laughing like a maniac. Neither of us ever imagined that a clip we shot would end up on huge pages like this. They didn't see it as just a video. They saw it as a reminder. One person commented, "I'm crying. Finally a real wedding, not something meant to show off." Another wrote, "This is why I believe in love." And so, one comment after another, one share after another. And within just 12 hours, the video hit 50,000 views, then 80,000, then 120,000. Every time I scrolled, the number jumped, hundreds, thousands. I was stunned. I'd worked in social media for 7 years, yet never had any clip I personally made reached numbers like this. What surprised me the most wasn't the views. It was the emotions of the viewers. They weren't just watching, they were sharing their own stories. My wedding 5 years ago cost 10 times this, and nobody remembers it. My family forced me into a big fancy ceremony. This clip made me cry. I wish I'd been brave enough to choose something small like this. Authentic love, luxury. Under every video, people tagged partners, friends, even wedding planners. Some girls tagged their boyfriends and wrote, "Babe, let's get married like this. Nothing fancy, just real." That was it. No castle, no $10,000 gown, just love. And the world suddenly remembered that. My phone buzzed. Ava called. She answered already smiling, then burst into tears. "Emily, your video, oh my God, have you seen it? People are talking about our love in ways we never imagined," I said. "I've seen it. I still can't believe it." Noah chimed in, voice shaking. "We never thought a few honest moments could move so many people. Emily, you did something really special." I stood in my tiny living room, holding my phone, and felt something bloom in my chest. My family once called me dramatic, but that same drama, that sensitivity to human emotion, was now touching tens of thousands of hearts. When I checked the insights again, I nearly dropped my phone. It wasn't just ordinary viewers sharing it. Wedding planners shared it. Influencers shared it. Lifestyle inspiration pages shared it. Some big accounts commented, "This is the wedding of the year. This is the new trend. Intimate, emotional, real. Forget Napa Valley. This is love." And then, the thing I never expected happened. A major wedding page with 3 million followers reposted my video and tagged, "If you're planning a wedding, watch this first." My mouth fell open. Lily texted me within half a second. "Oh my God, Emily! My brain is exploding!" I covered my face and burst out laughing. Neither of us ever imagined that a clip we filmed would appear on huge pages like this. I didn't mean to. I really didn't. But on the exact day my video hit 200,000 views, my family began posting photos from Grace's Napa Valley wedding. Golf course shots, wine glasses, lavish dresses, flowers stacked like a truckload. Perfect pictures. But beneath each post, barely any comments. Barely any likes. Meanwhile, my video, overflowing with hearts, praise, personal stories, and thousands of shares. No one said it out loud, but the contrast was glaring. One wedding was beautiful for showing off. The other was beautiful for feeling something. My family definitely saw it, and their reaction was inevitable. That evening, I received a message from a big wedding blog. "We'd love to interview you about storytelling in Ava and Noah's wedding." Then an email from a photography gear brand. "Would you like to collaborate on our upcoming campaign?" And finally, a message from Lily. "Emily, told you, you were born for this." I set my phone down, exhaled, and felt a cold shiver run down my spine. Not from fear, but from realizing that wedding had changed my life. And it was just beginning to change everything around me. I didn't expect that this virality would bring a storm with it. Accusations, misunderstandings, calls from my family. But that's the next chapter. For now, I knew only one thing. I had created something truly beautiful. Not something my family needed to approve of, something human hearts approved of. And that was worth more than anything. I knew social media was fast, but I didn't know it would outrun my family. That night, as the waterfall wedding video passed 200,000 views, I received a call that made my heart jump. Maya, the only cousin I ever defended. I barely had time to say hello before her tense voice shot through the phone. "Emily, what is happening?" I froze. "You mean the video?" "Yes, that wedding video of yours. It's going viral everywhere. Everyone in the family has seen it. Grace, has had a headache all night from being compared." I closed my eyes. I knew this moment would come. Just not this soon. Maya continued, half frustrated, half scared. "Emily, someone commented under Grace's photo. Pretty. But not as authentic as that other video. And others are tagging each other like, this wedding cost a fortune and still feels empty." I said nothing. I didn't know what to say. I could only hear my heartbeat slamming against my ribs. Then Maya sighed. "Emily, you just accidentally started a family Cold War." Not even 10 minutes after Maya hung up, my phone blew up again. Aunt Helen, Grace's mother. "Emily, we need to talk. Urgent." A cousin. "Wow, that video was yours. You really went big." Another relative, the one who always had something nasty to say. "Did you do this to compete with Grace's wedding?" Compete? I laughed out loud. A bitter, hollow laugh that even I could hear the edge in. I wasn't competing. I never even stepped into their arena. They were the ones who kicked me out of it. Then my phone buzzed again. This time, my mother. I stared at the screen for a few seconds. I knew. If I didn't answer, she would call until I broke. I picked up. "Emily." Her voice was hard as metal. "Explain this to me." "Explain what?" "That wedding video you posted. Why did you make it? To ruin Grace's wedding?" I froze for 2 seconds. Then heat rushed up my chest. Ruin what, exactly? You know what? People online are comparing. They're saying Grace's wedding looks fake, looks staged, looks less heartfelt than that wedding. Whoever's wedding you filmed. Her voice cracked with anger. "Did you do this for revenge?" I shot to my feet. "You think I have the time and energy to get revenge on a wedding you didn't even allow me to attend?" Silence. I continued, my voice shaking but firm. I was doing my job. I told the story of a couple I care about. I never mentioned Grace. I didn't tell anyone to compare anything. My mother hissed through her teeth. But that's the result. People are laughing at our family. There it was. She wasn't angry because I did something wrong. She was angry because the family's image was affected. Their favorite thing, appearances. My mother continued, "Do you know Grace was crying? She said you intentionally posted that video on the same day as her wedding to steal the spotlight." "Emily, how could you be so selfish?" I clenched my phone. "I posted it after her wedding, Mom." "But that's how she feels. And now the whole family is talking about it." I let out a laugh, a dry, brittle laugh. "The whole family? You mean the same family that didn't think about me once during weeks of wedding planning? The family that only remembers me when they need someone to blame?" My mother fell silent, and for the first time, the truth I had avoided my whole life finally surfaced. The truth that I only mattered when they needed someone to carry the weight of the family's emotional problems. The truth that they preferred having me to blame rather than having me at the table. I spoke, my voice suddenly calm in a way that surprised even me. "Mom, I'm not competing with Grace. I'm living my life. The life you told me I didn't belong in when it came to the family. Emily, don't say that. You told me I was too dramatic to attend a wedding. Now I do my job, and people end up loving that so-called drama. And suddenly you're mad because it reflects on the family. I paused, then asked slowly, "So how am I supposed to exist to make all of you happy?" On the other end of the line, my mother had no answer. After she hung up, I stood still in the living room. No crying, no yelling, just tired. But inside that exhaustion, one thing was clearer than ever. I had grown up. They no longer had the right to define me. And the video? It was still exploding. I opened my phone and saw it had passed 300,000 views. New comments flooded in. "Thank you for sharing this beautiful moment. I can feel the love. This is the kind of wedding people remember, not the flashy kind." Reading each line, each word, I felt a strange kind of strength. Something I had never received from my family. Recognition, empathy, understanding. Things they never gave me. I had no idea. The family storm was only just beginning. Because right then, my phone buzzed again. This time, the name on the screen made my blood freeze. Grace. The cousin who excluded me from her wedding. The cousin the family treated like fragile crystal. The cousin now crying because my video had gone more viral than her lavish ceremony. I stared at the flashing name for a few long seconds. Seconds that felt like a lifetime. I had never felt so calm before a storm. I answered, "Emily." Grace's voice was thin, like a sheet of paper. So fragile I feared it would tear if I breathed too hard. "Yeah, I'm here." A pause. Then she exhaled shakily. "Why is this happening?" I answered honestly, "Grace, what do you mean?" "That video, that wedding. You know what I'm talking about." Her voice trembled. Why are people saying my wedding wasn't as emotional?" I closed my eyes. I didn't hate Grace. I was just hurt by the way the family treated me. "Grace, I didn't do anything on purpose. I was just doing my job." Grace broke into tears. The suppressed kind. The kind that comes from being wounded by something she couldn't control. "But people are saying my wedding looks empty." I didn't reply immediately, because deep down, I knew why. I opened Instagram. 2 worlds appeared before me, clear as day. World 1, the waterfall wedding. Noah's trembling, tear-filled reaction. Ava's eyes overflowing with love. The faint rainbow behind them. The raw embrace with her mother. The laughter, the hiccuping cries. Nothing posed, nothing polished. Tens of thousands of comments. Hundreds of thousands of likes. Millions of views across reposts. Every word written from a real place. World 2, the Napa Valley wedding. Designer gown. Expensive floral arches. Michelin 3-star menu. Guests dressed like a gala. A ballroom so shiny it hurt to look at. But under each photo, 5 to 7 comments. Mostly, "Pretty." "Congrats." No one felt anything. I scrolled further down Grace's posts, and then the comments appeared. Comments like knives. "Napa is pretty, but it doesn't feel as emotional as the waterfall wedding." "Too much money makes things look unnatural." "Beautiful but lacks soul." That Emily girl's video hit me harder. "This looks staged." My jaw dropped. I didn't write those words. I didn't suggest anyone write them, but real voices always drown out whatever image the family tries to manufacture. Grace's muffled sobs came through the phone. Emily, everyone, the whole family, they're saying I lost the spotlight because of you. I laughed, a laugh that wasn't happy at all. But they didn't even invite me, Grace. Silence. You didn't want me at your wedding, but now you're blaming me for stealing the spotlight? I made a video at a wedding I was invited to. I didn't do anything wrong, Grace said between broken breaths. I just wanted everything to be perfect. I spent a whole year planning, only to be compared to a wedding that came together in 6 weeks. I sighed. Grace, it's not your fault. The problem is the way our family thinks perfect matters more than truly happy. She cried harder, and even though a part of me wanted to protect myself, my heart still ached for her. If I were her, spending a fortune, pouring in effort, carrying the pressure of an entire family, only to have the viral moment belong to some small, distant wedding, I'd probably break too. I looked back at the video I'd filmed at Multnomah and realized there wasn't a single perfect shot. The light was a bit dim. The wind messed up Ava's hair. Noah cried so hard his nose turned red. But it was real. Viewers felt that reality. They didn't need a luxury wedding. They needed emotion. I said to Grace, "It's not that your wedding was less than. It's just, it didn't give people the feeling they're craving right now." Grace went quiet for a few seconds. I tried so hard to make everything look perfect. Maybe I forgot to actually feel it. That sentence, I swear, went straight through my heart. Because it was a truth I knew Grace had never dared say out loud before. Grace's parents called my mother. My mother flooded my phone with messages. "You've caused a problem. The whole family is talking about you. You ruined Grace's special day." They refused to look at the truth. Grace's wedding lacked emotion. No one was moved. No one remembered much. They only looked at me, the easiest person to blame. The one long labeled too dramatic. The one who wasn't even there, but still got dragged into the center of the storm. I watched their reactions, the accusations, the calls, the guilt-tripping texts, and I realized I was no longer the girl they could drag around on a leash. I was Emily, the person making hundreds of thousands of people feel something. I had my own voice, and that voice didn't need my family's permission to exist. Grace finally said something that stunned me. "Emily, could you maybe stop posting more videos?" There was a pause. Then I answered, calm to the point of cold. "Grace, you can't ask me to shrink just because you chose a wedding that didn't hold any real feeling. I didn't do anything wrong. I just told a true story." Grace said nothing. I knew this fight wasn't over, but I also knew I wasn't afraid of them anymore. That night, as I sat scrolling through the loving comments pouring in under the video, my mother called again. This time not to scold me, but to say something that caught in my throat. "Emily, tonight everyone is talking about you." But not in the way they thought, because out there, the whole world was talking about me in a completely different way. A way that was kinder, fairer, more true, and they couldn't stop it. After that first tearful phone call with Grace, I thought things would quiet down. They didn't. A few hours later, she texted, Emily, I need to talk to you in person. Please. It wasn't the polite kind of message. It was the kind someone sends when they're standing on the edge of collapse. And I knew, no matter how angry or hurt I was, I had to talk to her. Not for the family, not out of obligation, but for the truth. We chose a small, quiet cafe. I arrived early and picked a table by the window. I wanted natural light, not artificial lighting, to shine on our real faces. When Grace walked in, I almost didn't recognize her. Not because of fancy clothes or designer dresses like on her wedding day, but because of her eyes. Tired, swollen from crying, and empty. She sat down, trying to smile, but her lips trembled. Emily, thank you for coming. I nodded, said nothing. I wanted her to start. She turned her coffee cup in her hands, gaze dropping to the table. I'm sure you know. People are saying my wedding looked emotionless. I stayed silent. Grace swallowed. And do you know what hurts the most? I met her eyes. Grace whispered, they're saying my wedding wasn't as meaningful as your wedding video. I took a deep breath. Grace, I didn't mean for that to happen. Grace let out a laugh. Sharp, brittle, like shattered glass. I know that. I don't think you did it on purpose. But Emily, I built my wedding like a perfect show. For years I believed the most beautiful things are the ones that look perfect. And then, she lifted her head, tears shining. Then one spontaneous video you made shattered everything I believed. I frowned slightly. Grace went on. My wedding, yes, it was beautiful. But me, I don't remember any of it. I don't remember how I felt. I don't remember the moments. I only remember people telling me where to stand, how to smile, how to look elegant. My heart clenched. Grace buried her face in her hands. Emily, I'm jealous of your video. My eyes widened. Grace continued through her sobs. Because I never had a moment that real at my own wedding. Do you remember the day I tried on my wedding dress? Grace asked. I nodded. Of course I remembered. It was the day my whole family buzzed with excitement while I was quietly written out of the story. Grace sighed. That day, I was exhausted. But my mom kept saying, smile, Grace. People are looking. I wasn't not allowed to be wrong, not allowed to be real. She looked at me, eyes red. My whole life, I've had to be perfect. You get to be real. You dared to be real. I froze. All my life. My family scolded me for being too real, too blunt, too dramatic. And now, the very person they held up as a role model was jealous of the thing that got me thrown out. Grace, I asked softly, why didn't you invite me? Why did the whole family agree to that? Grace went very quiet. She looked down, then said, because of the truth, Emily. I frowned. Because you can't pretend. Her voice shook. You make things real. And our family, they can't handle real. They like everything wrapped in glamour, in image, in polish. You're the opposite. I bit my lip. Grace looked straight at me, eyes shimmering. And they're afraid you'll accidentally expose what they've been trying so hard to hide. That this family is not as perfect as they pretend it is. Each word felt like a blade. Emily. Her voice was stuck somewhere between her throat and her heart. I'm sorry. I looked up. Grace was looking at me with an expression I had never seen on her face before. So honest I had to look twice. I was wrong to agree to cutting you out. I was wrong to choose perfection over family. I was wrong to forget that a wedding isn't a performance. And I was even more wrong to think your presence would ruin it. She wiped her tears. But the truth is, it was the lack of you that made my wedding feel empty. That sentence, I didn't expect it to hurt as much as it did. Not a sharp, bitter pain, but the ache of finally hearing something I'd waited my whole life to hear. Grace, I said quietly, I never wanted to compete with you. I didn't want to go viral to beat anyone. I just wanted to belong. Grace's lips trembled. I know, and that's exactly what eats me up inside. I took a deep breath. I'm not angry because they didn't invite me. I'm angry because they never thought I deserved to be invited in the first place. Grace broke down again. And for the first time in my life, I saw a version of Grace that wasn't the perfect bride, the model granddaughter, or the Napa Valley princess. Just a woman crushed under the pressure of the very family that had polished her into a symbol. When we stood up to leave the cafe, Grace hugged me tightly. Emily, I want to make this right. However long it takes, however we have to start. I nodded. I didn't know what would come next. I just knew, for the first time in years, Grace and I had spoken as two real human beings. No roles, no families standing behind us, no script. What I didn't know was, this conversation would lead to an invitation that would change both our lives. A request. I never imagined Grace would ask. That conversation with Grace felt like unlocking a door I'd always believed was sealed shut. A door that led to confrontation, and then healing. At the same time, the outside world was opening another door, one that led to a career I'd never dared to dream of. The very next day, I got a call from my boss, Monica. Emily, can you come in a bit early? I've got something big to discuss. I assumed they were going to scold me for letting my personal content overshadow the company's branding or something like that. But no. When I arrived, Monica laid a stack of printouts in front of me. Screenshots from Instagram, TikTok, and multiple major wedding blogs. Explain this, she said. Her tone was neutral, but her eyes were lit with excitement. I walked her through everything. The idea, the way I filmed, how I leaned into real emotion, how I crafted the captions to build connection. Monica listened, eyes shining brighter with every detail. Emily, she said when I finished, you just proved something the entire advertising industry has been struggling with for the past 2 years. Authenticity beats polish. She laced her fingers together and leaned forward. I want to promote you to Creative Director of Storytelling. You'll lead content strategy for our major clients. I went numb, not because of the title, not because of the salary, but because for the first time in my life, someone called what my family labeled as too dramatic a talent. About a week after our cafe conversation, Grace texted, Emily, Lucas and I want to see you. We have a favor to ask. I thought it would be about more apologies or family peace talks, but when I arrived at Grace's house, I saw her and Lucas sitting side by side, hands intertwined, eyes steadier than I'd ever seen. Grace began, Emily, we want to redo a ceremony, but this time, for us, not for the relatives, not for social media. Lucas added, that first wedding was loud and beautiful, but it wasn't ours. We spent the whole day afraid of doing something wrong, of looking bad in photos, of guests not enjoying themselves. And in the end, we don't remember anything. Grace looked at me, her gaze deep and clear. We want a vow renewal, Grace said. Something small, real, a day that truly feels like it's just about the two of us. And we want you to be the one to tell that story. I was stunned, completely stunned. The cousin who had once excluded me from her first wedding was now choosing me to be the keeper of memories for her second one. I felt like fate was rewriting everything from the beginning. Grace wanted the ceremony to take place right in her parents' backyard. At first, I was surprised, but when I got there, I understood why. It was where Grace and Lucas had first met, at a small family gathering, where they once kissed in a sudden rainstorm, where Lucas proposed with a small ring, not the massive diamond her mother later pressured her into wearing. This time, no elaborate flowers, no professional sound and lighting, no custom couture gown, no timeline scheduled down to the minute. Just 20 people who truly mattered. One long table with a white tablecloth, mason jars filled with wildflowers from the garden, warm string lights wrapped around the fence, and 2 people who were no longer performing. I filmed Grace reading her new vows, her voice trembling. I tried so hard to be the perfect bride. But Lucas, I've realized, what you needed was just Grace, the real me. Lucas took her hand and replied softly but firmly, I love you most in your imperfect moments. As long as you're real, that's enough. I wanted to cry. The camera in my hands shook because I was moved, too. No one was directing them. No one was adjusting their poses. No one told them to do it again for the camera. It was a real ceremony, from beginning to end. When I posted the story of Grace and Lucas's vow renewal, not to go viral, but because I was genuinely touched, I didn't expect what happened next. It spread even faster than Ava and Noah's waterfall wedding. Not because it was pretty, not because it was fancy, but because it's never too late to redo a moment in a way that makes you truly happy. That line, I wrote it in the caption, was shared over 50,000 times. People commented, I wish I were brave enough to correct my mistakes like they did. The second wedding is more beautiful than the $1 million one. Sincerity really is something money can't buy. Grace texted me that night, Emily, for the first time in my life, I feel truly seen, without any filter. I smiled, because that was exactly what I'd always believed in. My career took off. Grace found herself again. Lucas finally got a wedding that actually felt like his and the woman he loved. But most importantly, my family began to change. Not quickly, not completely. But my mother, the one who once called me too dramatic, started asking, Emily, can you send me some of those clips you filmed the other day? And that was the first time she had ever chosen to see the world through my eyes. I hadn't forgiven everything, but I saw a ray of light. A small light leading towards something I never thought I could have. A real family, not perfect, but willing to reflect and learn. And there is a moment in everyone's life when they realize, oh, this is me. This is what I'm really meant to do. For me, that moment didn't start with an award ceremony, not in a fancy office, not with some huge paycheck. It started with an email. An email with the subject line, We'd like to invite you to speak at Marketing Summit 2024. I read it 3 times, then a 4th. Then I burst out laughing like a crazy person. Me, Emily, the one my family used to call too dramatic, was now being invited to stand on stage at one of the biggest conferences in media, just to talk about authenticity. There was something beautiful about that. Beautiful, bittersweet, and right. After Grace and Lucas's vow renewal, my content kept getting shared everywhere. Online magazines wrote headlines like, "The girl who turned ordinary weddings into emotional phenomena." Authentic storytelling, the new wave for Gen Z and millennials. When authenticity saves an entire industry. Brands started reaching out to me, not to ask, "Can you run ads? Can you color grade this to look more luxury?" But, "Emily, can you help us tell our real story?" What you do reaches our customers in a way we've never seen. And that's when I understood. People aren't tired of content. They're tired of fake content. They aren't bored of videos. They're bored of beautiful, empty videos. They don't hate social media. They hate how social media keeps turning people into polished performances. And right at that moment, my career took off like fire meeting wind. At the company, Monica gave me my own team. I taught the juniors. Don't try to make the client look perfect. Help them feel understood. Don't tell stories to show off. Tell stories so someone out there feels less alone. The more I worked, the more I realized something strange. I wasn't teaching them skills. I was teaching them the courage to be honest. One of the juniors said, "Emily, for the first time, I feel like I'm not making content just to be liked, but to help someone feel seen." A chill went down my spine. Then warmth. A very real feeling. On the day of the marketing summit, I stood backstage, my heart pounding so hard it felt like my ears were buzzing. But I wasn't afraid. I knew I was about to say something I had waited my whole life to say. As I stepped onto the stage, I saw hundreds of eyes looking at me. Some people knew me only from my viral videos. Some came out of curiosity. Some came because they believed I had something to say. I started with this. My name is Emily Carter. My family once said I was too dramatic to attend a wedding. And that's exactly what led me to become the most honest storyteller of my own life. The room laughed softly. But right after the laughter came a deep, attentive silence. I continued. We've spent so long chasing perfection. But perfection doesn't connect with anyone. Only authenticity does. I played the clip of Noah crying when he saw Ava. The entire hall went quiet. Then I played the scene of Grace reading her vows to Lucas in a small backyard. Some people wiped their tears. I said, "These aren't $1,000,000 weddings. This is emotion. And emotion always wins." When I finished, the whole room rose in a standing ovation. I stood there under the lights and felt something I had never felt before. I wasn't small anymore. I didn't have to apologize for who I was. I wasn't too dramatic. I was a symbol of authenticity, the very thing my family once treated as a flaw. As I stepped off the stage, a young woman rushed up to me, crying as she spoke. "Emily, because of your video, I had the courage to cancel a big, flashy wedding I didn't even want. I chose a small ceremony where I could actually be happy. Thank you." I hugged her, and in that moment, all the hurt my family had ever caused me felt like it had been transformed into strength. Not because I was successful, not because I was famous, but because I had helped someone else be themselves. The news eventually reached my family. They were strangely quiet. No one said, "Emily is being dramatic again." No one said, "Emily just wants attention." No one said, "Emily is full of drama." Because now that same drama was something the whole world respected. And then my mother called. "Emily, I watched your talk at the conference." I held my breath. A pause. Then her voice trembling slightly. "I was wrong. You're the only one in this family brave enough to be real. And it turns out, that's the most beautiful thing." I closed my eyes and smiled, because the journey from being excluded to finally being seen was farther than I ever thought I could travel. But it was still only the beginning, because something even bigger was on its way. After the summit, where thousands of people stood to applaud the message of authenticity, I went home floating in a strange kind of calm. Not because I'd shined, but because I could feel so clearly that the pain I'd carried for years was becoming something useful for others. That evening, I sat alone in my small home office. The desk lamp cast a soft light onto the empty space before me. A completely blank page. I hadn't planned to write anything, but my hand picked up a pen on its own, and the first line appeared. Chapter 1. The day my family uninvited me. I stared at those words and I cried. Not weak tears, but grateful ones. Because I knew I was finally ready to tell my story. Honestly, completely. No hiding, no fear. I wrote like someone under a spell. Each page opened another room in my memory, one I had locked away long ago. The judgmental looks from relatives, the times they called me too sensitive, the feeling of being an outsider in my own family, the fear that I would never be enough, and the moment I was uninvited from the wedding. The last straw, I wrote about Ava and Noah, about the waterfall, about Grace breaking down in the cafe, about my mother finally saying she was sorry. Each chapter soothed a wound. Each sentence put a piece of my life back where it belonged. I titled the manuscript, Drama Girl. A name I used to hate, but now I wielded it like a weapon. At first, I wrote only for myself, but when I shared a few short excerpts online, they were shared over 10,000 times. People messaged me, "Your story is so close to mine that I got chills." I thought I was the only one my family looked down on for being too emotional. "Please publish this. I need this book to heal." A major publisher reached out. "Emily, your story is the voice the world needs right now. We want to publish Drama Girl." I stared at the email, my hands shaking. Not from fear, but because I knew if this book came out, I would tell everything. No hiding, no sugarcoating, no protecting anyone but myself. And for the first time in my life, I felt ready. I spent 3 months finishing the book. Some days I wrote for 12 hours straight. Some days I wrote one sentence and then cried for a long time. Some chapters forced me to shut the laptop and walk laps around the city just to breathe. But the more I wrote, the more I could speak to the younger version of myself. The little girl who once sat alone in her room, labeled rebellious, too much, not considerate enough. I wanted to hold that girl and say, "You were never wrong. You were just being real in a family that didn't allow it." And each chapter became a message to people like me. You're not too sensitive. You're not too dramatic. You just feel everything more deeply. And that, to me, was the most beautiful gift I could offer them. The book came out. Pre-orders exceeded everyone's expectations. For my first book signing, I assumed maybe a few dozen people would show up. But when I walked in, my knees almost gave out. A line of people wrapped around the block. They held my book. They were crying. They were waiting to tell me something. A young woman, maybe 19, ran up to me, laughing and crying at the same time. Emily, the chapter where you wrote about being dismissed by your family, it's exactly my story. I was going to drop out of school because I thought I wasn't good enough. But your book made me realize I just need to be myself. I hugged her. We both cried. A middle-aged woman came up next. My daughter made me read this. Because of it, I finally understand. Her emotions aren't rebellion. I've hurt her so much. Her voice broke. I put my hand over hers and said softly, "It's still not too late to start over." The signing lasted 4 hours, and I realized my pain was no longer just mine. It had become a shared language for so many too emotional, too dramatic souls the world had misunderstood. That night, when I came home, exhausted but happy, my phone pinged with a new email from a major TV network, a national show. The first line read, "We're producing a special episode on the authenticity movement and would like Emily Carter to be our central guest." I laughed through tears because I knew the girl who was once uninvited from a wedding was now being invited onto the stage of an entire country, and my story was nowhere near over. There are invitations that make you happy, invitations that make you nervous, and then there are invitations that make you freeze for a moment, unsure whether to laugh or cry. For me, that invitation came on an ordinary evening, just after I'd finished an online meeting with a big brand. My phone buzzed. I looked at the screen. Mom calling. I hesitated, not because I was still angry, but because I had changed so much, and I didn't know how she would step into this new version of me. I answered. Her voice was softer than I'd ever heard it. "Emily, I want to ask you for a favor." I held my breath. My mother had never said those words to me in my entire life. "Your cousin, Katie, is getting married," she said. "She wants a small, intimate ceremony, like the ones in your videos." I felt my heart drop for a moment. "You want me to come?" I asked, my voice steady but my insides roaring. My mother was quiet for a few seconds before replying, "Not just come. I was hoping you could help tell Katie's story, the way you do in your weddings." I froze completely. Me, Emily Carter, the girl once uninvited from a wedding for being too dramatic, was now being invited back. Not to sit quietly in a corner, not to be decoration, not to be there for form's sake, but to tell their story. I asked slowly, "Are you sure? No one's going to think I'm causing trouble this time?" My mother inhaled, then said the words I had waited my whole life to hear. "Emily, I was wrong. I didn't understand you. You don't cause trouble. You feel what others are afraid to feel. You see what others try to hide." Her voice grew weaker. "Without you, this family has missed so many beautiful moments because no one dared to look at them. I want to change that." I stood in my living room, feeling my heart melt into something warm and liquid. On Katie's wedding day, I arrived with Lily. The moment we stepped into the small garden venue, I heard someone shout, "Emily!" Katie ran over and threw her arms around me, her hair lifting in the breeze. "I want you to tell the story of my wedding." No one can do it like you. My heart softened like caramel. If years ago Grace had pushed me out of her wedding, then today, another cousin was saying, "It wouldn't be complete without you." For the first time in years, I walked into a family celebration without armoring up. No bracing, no shrinking, no playing the polite, quiet role, no making myself smaller to make others comfortable. I moved among them as someone with value, with a role, with a voice. No one looked at me like a problem. No one whispered behind my back. No one shot sideways glances of disapproval. They asked, "Emily, which angle do you think would look best? Emily, do you think this moment has feeling? Emily, your video for Grace? It was incredible." I almost cried, not because of the compliments, but because they were finally seeing me, truly seeing me, without the warped filter of fake perfection. Katie laughed like a child while her groom retied the ribbon in her hair. Katie's dad was shaking so badly while reading his toast that the mic fell into the grass. Her mother cried out of pure happiness, not from fear that the photos wouldn't look classy enough. Kids ran around knocking petals everywhere, and no one screamed about ruining the photos. I captured every one of those moments, moments no luxury wedding could ever buy. While I was adjusting my camera, my mother walked up beside me. "You're doing a wonderful job," she said, her eyes softer than the woman who once stood in my kitchen and called me too dramatic. I asked, "Do you still think I'm too dramatic?" She took my hand. "No, your drama is the honesty I lost along the way." For the first time in my life, I heard her say something not for appearances, not to save face, not to keep up an image. It came straight from her heart. After everyone had left, Katie came over and put a hand on my shoulder. "Emily, you weren't here today to sit quietly. You were here to help me create the happiest memory of my life. Thank you." Then she said something I never thought I'd hear in this family. "From now on, you always have a place in every family photo." I sank into my chair, my hands shaking. So many years of being cropped out. So many years of being told to be more proper, more polite. So many cutting remarks that made me doubt myself. And now, it was all being returned. Not with some grand apology, not with compensation, but with one simple sentence. "You have a place." A place where I didn't need to shrink, didn't need to be quiet, didn't need to pretend, didn't need to stand in the corner. A place for the real me. That night, I drove home in silence. The streetlights painted warm golden streaks across the windshield, like the quiet, awkward but genuine affection my family had begun to return to me. I thought about the day I was uninvited from Grace's wedding, and I thought about today, the day I was invited back. From the person cropped out of the picture, I had become the one behind the camera, preserving the most beautiful parts of my family. And I understood something. Sometimes, people have to push you out of their story, so you can find the strongest version of yourself. And when you return, no one can deny the light you carry. In the end, I realized something that took me half a lifetime to understand. No one has the right to define you, not even your family. Your authenticity, your emotions, your voice are not flaws. They are gifts only those sensitive enough will recognize the value of. If I hadn't been excluded from that wedding back then, I might never have found my own path. Sometimes, Life forces you to step outside so you can finally see. The light you carry was never meant for places that refuse to see it. If this story resonates with you, don't forget to leave a comment and subscribe so I can keep sharing more healing journeys with you. Who knows? You might just find yourself in them.